You have tried every focus app, every website blocker, every digital solution, but somehow you still feel like a juggler with too many balls in the air. You're dropping way more than you're catching. I have been watching a lot of old movies lately, and in all the scenes that take place in offices, there is something really strange going on. There is no computer. Somehow the writers, philosophers, lawyers, bankers, police officers, private investigators, and teachers are all able to get their work done with just a pen and paper. There's something about this world that feels idealistic, even a little unrealistic. My family's had some kind of computer since dial-up, and I got my first laptop in 2011, and then smartphones hit, and that pipe dream of a desk without technology was over for me. Now, we can't get through the workday without constant digital interruptions, and this is tanking our ability to focus. I love my digital tools, but dang, I feel more scattered than ever while using them. That's why in this video, I'm sharing 5 analog tools that have literally revived my focus in our hyper-digital world. Tools that will work with your brain instead of against it, and allow you to reclaim your attention and use it for what actually matters to you. So let's start with the kind of mindset you need to reclaim your focus using analog tools. Of course, I'm not here to tell you to throw out your laptop, like out the window, or go live in a cabin without electricity or anything. We obviously live in a technological world, and I often do want to smash every single screen in my house, but I know it's just not realistic to go fully off the grid or be without your phone or be without your technical devices. Often a lot of people need them for things like disability or access to education, access to stuff they wouldn't normally have. So yeah, I'm not a total digital hater, but I do want to say that it's still true that digital tools are distracting us from our most important work and literally ruining our focus. So it takes an average of like 23 minutes to fully refocus after digital interruption, right? This is scientifically proven. This means every time you get a notification, you are working at half capacity for the next 23 minutes. And on average, people receive 46 notifications per day on their smartphones, not to mention like smart watches or computers or any other devices that you use. But let's say that 46 amount applies to you, 46 notifications per day. If you do the math and account for sleep time, that's 1 notification per every half hour. So every half hour you get notified, and then you need 24 minutes to lock back in, and then you get notified just like 7 minutes later and the clock completely resets. So if we're looking at that for a full hour, that's notification, let's say 23 minutes for 1 notification. Let's even bundle them, 23 minutes for another notification. So you're working for maximum 15 minutes every single hour. And this level of distraction makes us truly allergic to deep focus. I don't know about you, but every single time I get into a deep focus mindset, I'm like, wait, something should be distracting me. I should be getting a notification right now. And so I end up going on my phone, I end up doom scrolling or doing something else to distract myself. But as with all things, we can rebuild our deep focus muscle. So I'm going to talk about how to strategically implement analog tools like the ones I have in front of me and techniques to reclaim your focus. But the number one thing you need to do before all of that is figure out a way to get your phone out of the room and get your notifications down. So my boyfriend has what he calls a phone bed that lives on a shelf in our living room so that he can work in the office without having it next to him to distract him. I think that's the ideal. If you can get your phone out of your room and turn off some notifications on your computer, that would be great. But I need to have my phone on me during the workday. I work in social media, so I must have it with me. But I will often end up creating fake blocks of time on my calendar when I know I need to get deep work done so that I always show as busy at work. And then people don't email me or Slack me nearly as often. And I'll even pause my notifications or something like that if I really know I need to get deep work done. So there are methods, and just do whatever you have to do to reduce digital distractions. And then, and only then, you can fully take advantage of the analog tools that will really transform your productivity. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Capture Notebook. This little guy goes everywhere with me, and for good reason. It is my first line of defense against digital distractions. When I keep it on my desk while at work, it becomes an excellent substitution to using a notes app where digital distractions are abound, and my notes app is truly a catastrophe, so I don't even want to look at it. Basically what happens is a stray thought comes up in my brain, and then it comes down on paper, and then I can get right back to my work. But the real magic is when I take it with me on the go. So if I have a thought on the train, I can pull this bad boy out of my pocket and just jot it down. If I'm bored at a coffee shop, I can open this up and plan my day. I've used it to journal on the go, to take notes on the go. I even planned a whole video at a bagel shop a couple weeks ago. It's way, way, way better than opening my calendar or notes app on my phone and getting sucked into Instagram. Another tip I picked up from Park Notes is if you have a pocket notebook with you, start writing down some of your favorite quotes, sort of like a commonplace notebook. And then when you are in line, instead of pulling out your phone, just open up your notebook and just review the quotes that you wrote down that you love. Or these can be quotes that you have said or quotes that other people have said. I really, really like this method, especially while I'm doing those like tedious tasks where I don't want to pull out my phone, like I'm in an elevator or I'm waiting in line or something like that. So lots of good ways to use a capture notebook or a pocket notebook. I highly, highly recommend. Now, the next tactic may not seem like it will improve your focus, but trust me, it will. And that is getting a physical hobby that you enjoy. Here are some of mine. Having something hands-on that you do with your hands besides like typing on a computer can actually restore your cognitive capacity. Most of my knowledge and what I'm going to talk about in this section is creative sort of, scrapbooking, drawing, writing type of hobbies, knitting type of hobbies. I assume you can also get these benefits from a physical hobby if you are athletic, so like running might fall into this for you or something else. But I really like these hands-on craftsy type of projects because what they do is they provide something called soft fascination, which is something engaging enough to hold your focus, but not so demanding that it creates that mental fatigue. I find that art is the number one way I cultivate this soft fascination. I feel so freaking rejuvenated when I get my scrapbooking supplies out and I scrapbook something that's just for me, that's never gonna make it into a planner or into a memory keeper or into anywhere. My relaxing time often involves some sort of craft. I know I've shown these tarot cards on the channel before, but I made them with a friend of mine who makes all of their own tarot cards, and they got me onto making my own, and it's just really, really fun, and I can't wait until I can do it again. But if I'm on the go and I don't have like a bunch of craft supplies, I also just really like to draw. And so, for example, I went on a trip in Wyoming a couple years ago. I drew the sort of like bluff we were looking out at. It's not like the best drawing, but I don't know, I think it's pretty good. And it kept me occupied in a time where I would otherwise like be not engaging with the nature. We also went to a rodeo and I just drew some of the people who were watching the rodeo or, riding around in the off time when, somebody wasn't like being thrown off of a bull. And I love this type of activity because it helps me engage with the world around me and also helps me be not on my phone. And these types of physical hobbies, they utilize motor skills and spatial thinking, which acts like a cognitive reset button. So you're focusing on your chosen hobby, but you're also giving your brain space to relax in an environment that's like nowhere as stimulating or stressful as the internet.
I want to hop in here and talk about something that has been on my mind lately. The joy of creating and actually finishing something you started with your own two hands. And that brings me to today's sponsor, Craftsy. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative with over 2,000 classes where you can actually learn skills that result in something real. We're talking knitting, sewing, baking, crocheting, skills that our parents and grandparents probably knew, but somehow got lost on the way to all of us. I have been diving deeper into some of their courses since our last partnership, and what strikes me is how good it feels to follow a project from start to finish. Whether that's learning to bake bread that you can actually eat or trying to crochet and ending up with something you made to wear all winter. There's this satisfaction that you just can't get from digital accomplishments. The classes are taught by expert instructors who break everything down into manageable steps, so even if you're starting from zero like I was, you're not overwhelmed. Plus, as a member, you're part of this community of people who are all learning and making things together. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This offer is valid for new members only. Thanks again to Craftsy for sponsoring. Now let's get back to my favorite analog tools.
Let us talk time management a little here and talk about the physical timer. This might be the single most transformative swap you can make. I am like not actually joking here. I'm talking about getting an actual physical timer. So something that looks like this. I got this off like Amazon for like 15 bucks. You could also use a stove timer if you have a stove timer. You could use any timer you have that's physical and real and not on your phone or computer. Something that solely exists to measure time. I use this basic analog timer all the time, and it has really revolutionized my deep work method. I think you guys are probably familiar with the Pomodoro method, where you set a 25-minute timer and then the timer goes off and then you have a break and then you set it again and you work for 25 more minutes. And that can be really helpful. Honestly, I like to set it up for like 50 minutes, work for 50, break for 5, do that a couple of times, and then, take a longer break that's like 15 or even 30 minutes. I always have one of these by me when I'm filming videos so that I make sure I don't give my editor like crazy long video files. And sometimes even when I get that itchy feeling in the back of my brain, like I'm feeling very deep work phobic, I don't believe I can do it, or I just really don't want to do it, I will often set one of these timers for just like 10 minutes or even 15 minutes. And that just helps me get myself started. As with everything, the tactile experience really matters too. So physically winding and setting a timer creates like a mental transition into focus mode. So you're literally marking the beginning of intentional work time. And timers can come in all shapes and sizes, so that tactile experience can be really fun for you. Like maybe you want a little stopwatch that still feels like hard tech without the smart tech, or a big Victorian hourglass so you feel like a wizard when you work. With any analog item, you have the opportunity to add personality and vibe to your everyday work that you just don't have when you have a smartphone. Like everybody's smartphone just looks the same. There's no personality. Yeah, you could have a unique cover, but when you actually get in there into the hardware, the apps are all the same. So try to bring that tactile element in and make your focus fun. Find a timer that really would work for you. Another time-related tip here, the traditional watch is a great time-oriented tool to separate you from your tech. If you think having your phone give you notifications is bad, try having them on your wrist at all times every single day. I know smartwatches can do everything. They can track steps, heart rate, sleep, tell time, but this is just another screen that's vying for your attention. I have worn this smartwatch for like months and months on end, and I have tweaked the notifications to be a little bit less overwhelming. But still, just being accessible all the time is really, really hard. Even though I use my smartwatch for things that are like related to my health, like I like to track my steps, I need to reference my heart rate because of certain conditions that I have. And all of those things are totally true, but everybody needs a break sometimes. So if you are a big fan of your smartwatch because you like it for those health-related benefits or need it for those health-related benefits, but are still feeling the, craze of like, I have my notifications literally on my wrist at all times, try going for a traditional watch to give you time awareness without that cognitive overhead. No decisions to make with these traditional watches, no notifications to manage, no apps to navigate on like the world's smallest screen. Traditional watches are single-use tools that do what they say on the tin. They tell time. And again, there's so much personality in this. Like, just take these two watches, for example. This one is like very, very simple, sort of like elevated, but not super ritzy. This one is for Christmas only. This is actually a family heirloom that we call the Christmas watch, and it's been passed down. I think the first person to have it was my grandmother, and then she gave it to my mother, and then my mother gave it to me. So watches can serve these kinds of purposes too. They can last a really long time. They can be full of personality. They can go from, you can pass it down to your kids, or your parents can pass it down to you. But like a smartwatch is not ever going to work that way. Like, what am I going to do? Like pass my Apple Watch band down to my kids? Like, probably not. And by the time I end up having kids, if I end up having kids, this technology will be completely obsolete. So having something physical in the real world that you can touch and engage with and use and pass down or get exchanged or whatever, I think is really, really nice, especially because we all need to tell time, but we don't all need to have an insane amount of notifications buzzing at our wrist all day. And of course, my personal favorite, the paper planner. I will be honest, I live and die by my Google Calendar. I need that kind of granularity and specificity when I'm planning things like my week. I just can't plan on paper as fast as my meetings tend to update. Like sometimes I will plan my day and then literally by 9 a.m. all my meetings have shuffled around. So I really do get the need for collaborative, fast-moving, flexible digital tools when it comes to planning your life. However, all of my daily planning is done in my planner. So I will write down my schedule on one side and then my tasks, in another section, and then I will end up having notes, probably a lot of notes in the bottom section of the page. So I've been really loving having this big wide page. This is the Hobonichi Cousin, and I've been really loving having this big wide page because it can handle all of those things on a day-to-day basis: my schedule, my priorities, my notes. And this is a distraction-free environment that truly feels like I can drill down with specificity and create the command center for my day that my brain needs without opening up a device and connecting to the entire internet. So I just keep this open all day, and when a task comes up or an appointment gets made or shifted or a note needs to be taken, I'm reaching for my pen first and not my phone, so that eliminates a ton of potential digital detours throughout the day. I also want to show you, this was how I was using it back in April. All this time has passed, and this is honestly what it looks like now. So it's so flexible. Like here I have some scheduling over here, but then this is where I drew a mock-up for a YouTube channel for my work that I'm creating for my office. So I was planning out their YouTube channel. I was planning out the key components of it. I had some focuses over here. I had some notes over here. So it can be very flexible. If you get a nice daily spread that you like, I really recommend planning in a daily spread, because yes, we all need our digital tools to manage those ever-changing things like calendar appointments and work collaboratively and things like Google Docs, but I really think a pen to paper is truly the least distracting and most rewarding way to plan granularly in your day. And of course, just as with all the other tools, there are cognitive benefits to like touching and creating something in real space. Especially the act of handwriting is very powerful. I will leave all that sciencey stuff to another video, and I have made those other videos. But it definitely does matter to your mind and your focus to write things down and experience them in space rather than just on a flat screen.
Think of analog tools as your brain's safe zones, places where digital distractions can't reach you no matter how strong the pull. You can try and start with just one tool. Maybe grab a kitchen timer tomorrow and try a 15-minute focused work session. No phone, no notifications, just you and whatever you're working on. I guarantee you will be shocked at how much clearer your thinking becomes. Which of these analog tools are you most excited to try? Or which ones have you tried? Let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing about your focus experiments. I also launched a newsletter this month. There is a link down in the description, or you can scan the QR code on the screen to get in early and hear all my productivity advice before YouTube does. And if planners and notebooks are new to you, you might want to check out my video on all the best planning advice from a decade plus planning on paper. I will leave that right here next to my head. Thank you so much for watching, for being subscribed, for being awesome. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.